What's up guys, it's Nate. This is going to be a really brief walkthrough of my raw post-processing workflow for portraiture. I'm going to take you from here to here in about 945 steps, so enjoy. Alright, I shot this shot in daylight, but I did so in a cloudy environment, so the first thing I'm going to do is try this cloudy. That's nice. That warms it up just a little bit. That puts a little bit of orange and yellow, a little bit of color and life back into my skin tones without making anything else look too pea-ish, which is good. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get an exposure baseline for the face. That looks good on the face. I like that. Somewhere around there. Anyway, I'm going to pull some of these highlights down and try and recover some of what's lost up here in the hair and the sky. The other thing I'm going to do is push some of these shadows up and try and pull back a little bit of what's lost in the eyes. Generally, from there, I'll push my whites just a touch. Watching my histogram, I'm looking to see what's clipping right now. I've got some clipping in the yellow channel. So I'm going to pull that back just a touch. And then I can start pushing my blacks down a little bit. Eyes are really difficult. I want this bright. I don't particularly need this bright. The eyelids, the eyelashes, they don't have to pop out off the image. That would be weird. But the eyeballs need to pop. So I'm not afraid to dip some blacks back into it and lose a little bit of eyes. We can lift those eyes later on. So now we've got an okay looking baseline image. It's flattened out just a touch. Here's the difference. All right, moving down, you have your clarity. This is a dangerous one. Too low, things get really soft and stupid. I very, very rarely will dip below 0 here. Clarity too high, and any sort of imperfection in skin, or in this case, a freckle, which is not an imperfection, it's adorable, is going to look ridiculous. You're going to blow it out of proportion. That looks bad. So generally what I do is I will bump up just a touch of clarity. That's probably even a little bit too much, but just enough to give the image just a bit more teeth. I just want it to cut a little bit harder. Vibrance, for a shot like this, I'll actually run my vibrance higher. Saturation, I usually don't play with. I'll leave the saturation untouched. I will push the vibrance a little bit higher, and we'll play with those colors just a little bit later on. In the effects tab, I'm a vignette freak. I just love, yeah, see, perfect. I love a heavily vignetted image, and for me, a heavily vignetted image is probably somewhere around there, 27. That's a little bit hot for me. Maybe a little bit much for this shot. My magic numbers, for some reason, are 17 and 21. Anything that floats around between 17 and 21, I really like. For this shot, somewhere around there, 19 feels good. I don't ever add any grain to an image. So now we have our baseline image. We've run through the controls that we can use to try and make our shot look better. Color's where it starts getting tricky. For a really dull day like this was, occasionally I'll take my greens and push them just a touch towards the blue side, and that takes these flat, dull, yellowish looking foliage, this flat, dull, yellowish looking foliage, and it lets me push it closer to a little bit more tropical feeling if you need to. Cropped. Anyway, saturation, orange is where this skin tone is going to lie for the most part. That's not hot. That's not hot. So what we're going to do is leave that set kind of neutral. I might even pull just a touch of color out of the skin and a little bit of color out of the hair. The majority of her hair color is going to be in the yellow scheme. This to me looks ridiculous. Disney princess is not a thing that you should be shooting for. That's just gross. Something like that to soften her a little bit, to pull a little bit of saturation from her. I like that. I think to me that looks good. It feels a little bit more natural. It feels a little bit less forced, and that's good. Luminance on the skin. We can push her skin a little bit. I don't like the way that pushing individual colors feel as far as luminance goes. Sometimes I will use like my blues to pull the sky in a little bit darker. It makes the sky feel a little bit less overcast. I can actually push my blue saturation a touch and force some color into the sky, and that feels all right. What I'm looking for is, are my bushes too strong? Is this sky too strong? Is my face getting overpowered in any way? Because our goal, our most important piece to this is this face. Face matters, bushes don't matter, sky really doesn't matter. So what we're gonna do is grab the luminance on these and pull them in just a little bit to match my sky. So now I've got a shot that is colored about the way that I want it, and its exposure is about the way that I want it, and that leaves me with this versus this. It basically looks like a brighter, more natural feeling version of this. All right, what I'm gonna do now is lift some eyeballs, because lifting eyes is important. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna grab a brush, I'm gonna set it so that I can actually see what it's doing, and I'm gonna size it. Basically, I'm just gonna paint in the eyes a little bit. Just a touch. And what I wanna do is use this to lift those eyes. Everything level, exposure, I'm gonna push the exposure just a touch. Generally anything over about 20, 25-ish, it gets weird. We can probably get away with it here because the face is still pretty bright in this shot. You don't want it to look weird and alien. That to me feels all right. Okay, something else that we can do is apply a mask by clicking and dragging from the center out, and I'm actually going to push the face just a touch, just a 0.2 on the exposure bumped up, and that gives me just a slight lift in the face, which I like the feel of a lot. That contrast I said I didn't like before, I'm going to push a little bit in there to lift this and force this a little bit harder. Pinch more clarity. Push the exposure a little bit brighter. Okay guys, so here we are like 45 minutes later in actual time. Click like if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Subscribe to my channel, and if you don't, you will hurt my feelings. And let me know in the comments what you want to see differently. What was wrong with this video, what's wrong with my editing style, what's wrong with my stupid voice. Goodbye.